State, and I'm bringing to you live my boys Alec and Nate, Tequila Ty, Jay, Nelly, and Zillin in the building. So kick it back, pour the drink, we chillin' because I'm boozing and betting and ballin' like I'm 2-6 in the blue kicks. Watch me move quick, yeah, this the blueprint. So who's getting involved? Welcome into the show. This is Booze, Bets, and Ball, baby.
And welcome back to Booze, Bets, and Ball. We have a big episode on tap here as Penn State took down UCLA last week, 27, what was that, 27-16, 27, what the hell's the score of that game?
27-11, right?
12, 28-12.
Wasn't it 11, or am I tripping? I think it was 27-11.
Yeah, it was 11. I knew they won by 16. That's where I got the 16 from. For some reason, I thought it was 27-16, but no, it's 27-11. They won by 16. All right, I knew I got that backwards. But yeah, it's Penn State 5-0. Now leaves Happy Valley for the first time in 40 days to go all the way out to USC to face the Trojans, who are somehow 3-2. Did not see them losing to Minnesota last week, but that was the case. So now, Penn State's a heavy favorite. Not a heavy favorite.
They're not that heavy, to be honest.
No, they're getting. They're 4-point favorites on the road. Which if they were home, that would be a little over a touchdown favorite. But
yeah.
They're still there. I just didn't think, obviously, I think at the beginning of the season, especially after USC beat LSU, we didn't know Penn State. We didn't think Penn State would be the favorite heading into this, but USC all the way to unranked, which after knocking off LSU week 1, I did not see coming for this game. So that's a crazy development there. Penn State did play last week without Nick Singleton. Looks like he could have gone if needed, but UCLA was not much of a threat with their backup quarterback. Didn't do any offensive damage until the end of the game, where they got a touchdown late and then got a 2-point conversion on Penn State's second string. So, they didn't need to play him, which was nice. And that's really important for this week because when USC loses, they lose because they cannot stop the run. Michigan ran for 290 on them. And Minnesota was, I think, 191, somewhere around there, running the ball on them. And when they beat teams, those other teams barely get over 100 rushing. And part of that is because those teams got behind and couldn't run the ball. And I wouldn't say that Michigan and Minnesota racked up a bunch of rushing yards because they were winning. They both came back in the fourth quarter to win those games.
Yeah.
So the truth is, I think that USC is just in trouble if they can't stop the run, even if they are winning.
Yeah, and if us compared to Michigan and Minnesota, well, especially Michigan, they just ran the ball because they don't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
We actually, I think Drew's actually had a really good season. I trust him. And, if we can't run the ball, I trust our offense still to be able to move the ball with Warren. Clifford's had a great game last week. And Singleton, even in the receiving game, has been well this year. We just need someone else to step up other than Wallace and Warren. So we'll see. But I think, running, we need our 2 lines to dominate, and we'll kill them, I think, personally. But we'll see.
Yeah, Liam Clifford had a pretty decent game against UCLA. I think he flashed a little bit. Still kind of waiting for something from Julian Fleming a little more. I think the backup tight ends, Rappley, who looked like he was going to run away with the backup job, is obviously out for the year. So kind of waiting on Dinkins and Reynolds to get a little more involved too.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mari Evans, pretty hit or miss. Drew's doing good with what he has. Tyler Warren might be the best tight end in the country. Definitely the most versatile tight end in the country. But, he has a bottom tier receiving core, and he has a middle of the pack offensive line. So I think, a lot of his improvements this year are magnified more than you would think because he's doing a lot better than he did last year and it's not like his surrounding crew improved that much. he lost arguably his 3 best offensive linemen, and there's probably a push at receiver right now. So, what he's doing is definitely impressive considering it's not like they've just loaded up around him, and that's why it's changed so much.
Yeah, no, every time, Drew's been good this year. I'm just thinking, what if the one year when everybody was saying start Drew, was it Clifford's last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like we still had Parker, and we had a decent wide receiver core. Like there's pretty good. I mean, Parker would be easily the best we have by now. Like just having Parker would just be insane. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just thinking about like Drew's been great this year, and they do not get separation at all. Like Amari occasionally does on the deep ball threat, and he usually hits them. He's been like shaky with throwing the deep ball. I think he's not the best at it,
Mm-hmm.
but he hasn't turned the ball over. He's not putting the ball in harm's way. He's finding the open areas and zones. He's just been doing really good, and I think this week, especially if they just load the boxes, they're like, we can't let Singleton and Allen just like make Drew beat us. I think he really can, and I mean he hasn't. No, I mean technically everybody's like he hasn't shown up in a big game yet. I mean I think West Virginia was still a big game personally, even
Yeah.
though like they're not having the greatest season now. I mean they had a great win last week. Hopefully they can beat Iowa State this week, give us like a better road win because everybody's writing them off.
Mm-hmm.
But like he's been great so far yet. Like this is the next big test for him and Franklin. Like Franklin can't lose this game. Like USC's unranked now. Like there's no reason. Like you cannot lose this game. If he loses this game, dude, I don't know. I don't. He's gonna lose to Ohio State, and then he'll probably fucking the team will be down and just lose another game like always with no motivation.
Yeah, he can't slip up here, and I haven't really even talked about Franklin that much because they've been so ho hum this season.
Yeah,
Outside of the Bowling Green game, they've been pretty consistent. Not looking so hot in the first half and then breaking away from everyone in the second half has kind of been how the season has gone. Yeah, I mean, he does have to show something this week that he could take a team that's undefeated across the country and win against, they're not top 15 like everyone thought, but they're still an above average team in USC. They still have talent all over the place. So yeah, there is something for him to prove this week that he can do it because it is typically a game that he struggled with and lost. And, he dominated West Virginia week 1 and he did enough to get by Illinois in a ranked matchup earlier this season. So he's done some things. It's time to kind of cross another one off the list for him. And this would certainly be a big one. So, I mean, yeah, there's definitely some pressure on him to get this done. Just want to pull up some of the stats here for this while we can. So yeah, USC, I know Nate always says that this matchup predictor ain't shit, but USC is favored to win this game on there. Penn State is obviously the betting favorite, opened at 3.5 up to 4. So, has gone in Penn State's favor. Tickets as low as $16. That's pretty sad.
Yeah, that is pretty sad.
But where the hell are we here? Kind of looking though here at USC. So I mean, Miller Moss is putting up yards. I mean, they've had to throw a lot, obviously, because they've been down in a couple games. I mean, he's thrown twice. He's thrown twice as much as Drew Aller, and he only has about 300 more yards and the same amount of touchdowns. So I mean, really not that more efficient than Drew at all. I mean, Drew hasn't been asked to do a ton yet this season just because the defense and running game has been really solid. But I mean, he's been a lot more efficient than Miller Moss if you look at this.
Yeah, dude. Also, where is Branch not having a great season this year? I feel like he was such more of an X factor last year.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing a lot in the return game and stuff, but I don't know if this is by receptions and not yard. Or no, it's yards. Okay. Jeez. Neither of these teams have a wide receiver really going crazy.
We have a tight end, so
Yeah, I mean, we don't even have a receiver. Yeah, that's pretty bad. But yeah, I mean, you just kind of look at Singleton and Marks here. Like Marks has 60 more yards, but he has 28 more carries.
Yeah.
They're not as efficient as Penn State has been, which is definitely, something to note. They've kind of struggled with that. And it's funny because if you look at this outside of Utah State, which, what is whatever, this isn't, a Lincoln Riley type offense, so to say. It's more they've been actually a little better defensively. They haven't given up more than 27 points in a game, which wasn't the case last year. So they're actually keeping teams down, but they're not scoring near as much as we're used to seeing with his teams.
Yeah, no, their offense definitely isn't as electric as it used to be. I mean, you can't blame him. I mean, he had Kyler, he had Caleb, like he's had insane college quarterbacks and insane offenses at those schools at those times. So I mean, it's definitely different because he's not recruiting like how he used to at all, and especially at USC, he's not even close to what he was doing at Oklahoma. So I mean, it's definitely a little different. But I mean, yeah, you're right. Defensively, he's finally like kind of taken a step in the right direction, even though it's making his offense not at electric or more points per se. But I mean, defense wins games. I mean,
Right.
even when he had those offenses, like he got to score 48 to beat a team in like the Big 12. Like that's pretty sad. So like when Oklahoma was in the Big 12 at least back then. So I mean, we'll see. I think, but like yeah, Zach Moss, it's gonna be an air raid type of game. We're really gonna see what our corners are about. Kimber back, right? I think.
I think they said he might be back. I think I saw that somewhere.
Yeah, I thought I did too. So hopefully we get him back. AJ Harris has been good. Who even is third corner is like always? I feel like rotated. Or my
Yeah, I mean, it's been Miller, it's been Tracy.
yeah.
They've moved some different guys around. Elliot Washington has got in there a lot.
I like Elliott. I
Yeah.
think I don't like Zion Tracy is okay. I mean, they're still young. They're so young. Where it's like, how bad mad can you be? Oh, dude, sorry, Tigers have scored. Not in the back. But yeah, no. But personally, I think we win this game. But ESPN, has us losing.
Yeah. On
Somehow.
there.
I don't know how, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that scares me is the cross country trip after being home for over 5 weeks. You get a little uncomfortable there. You're going backwards in the time zones and everything, and there's the jet lag factor. And I think they just are landing in LA like right around now. I think I saw it was projected to be around 8 local time that they were dropping in there on Thursday. So pretty much have all day Friday to familiarize yourself, and then you're right at it. A 12:30 local kick in LA. So
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So not a lot of time. That's the one thing that worries me, obviously. Franklin's played in a couple Rose Bowls, so they're kind of used to that trip. The only thing is you go out there about 6 days earlier for a bowl game. So the adjustment period is not nearly as long, but obviously, they've played out in LA a couple times, so they are used to that.
Yeah, no, that's going to be interesting. I mean, we're already starting slow, so maybe the jet lag will make us start fast. Who knows? Because, dude, if we start slow, we can't let our defense can't be on the field too much in the first half because they will score. They're a good enough team where they're going to put up points, and our defense has been good, but also Illinois was kind of dinking and dunking us for a while, getting the ball down there, moving the ball. Now we came up with big stops. We were bending and not breaking, but they will score. They're a better offensive team than we've really faced. So I just think we can't start slow, and we also can't just let them just drive on us. The Illinois game, I think it was the defense we were playing too, part of it, but they were just running slants so easily for 12 to 15 yards. It wasn't even close. Their corners were way far back. We can't have that happen. But also you're playing the deep ball versus Branch. But either way, we can't start slow. The jet lag. I mean, it's a good excuse, but if Ohio State goes into Oregon, beats them by 14 plus, you can't use that excuse. They're playing a harder team too. So it's I mean, they still have a big game too, and who knows, that could affect them. I didn't even really think about that, to be honest. So you just said this, but because they just got there today. I don't know why we got there late. I mean, I would have left yesterday personally.
Yeah,
I feel that would have 2 days. I feel it's perfect. Usually, people that I know have said usually 2 to 3 days it takes to be situated with the time zone.
Yeah,
So,
I too would have preferred they left yesterday. I mean, it's only 5 local time there, which I don't know how much of a difference that really is going to make, but
yeah,
it gives them a little bit more. Yeah, this is gonna be a little tough, I think. And the starting slow thing. We talked about how when USC loses, it's because they can't stop the run. You start slow and you get behind by more than a score. You know, like 10 points, maybe you could just stick with your game plan and keep running, but you get up there towards 14 or more down, like you're gonna have to throw.
yeah.
And I know like Michigan really couldn't throw, and Wisconsin was on a backup quarterback, and Minnesota is what it is. But like Nussmeier had a decent game, I'm pretty sure, against them, the LSU quarterback. I have to go
That's
back and
not
look at
right
this.
there. Yeah,
But
I
like
think they
outside of that, they haven't been horrible. I
that
clicked on
one
the
would
wrong
say.
thing. There we go. Yeah, I mean Nussmeier had a pretty big game against them, but
What's that
that
say?
was just because that was a shootout.
Is that 304?
Yeah, 304, 2 TDs and an interception, 29-38.
304 is kind of
I
crazy.
mean, and yeah, I mean, LSU didn't really run on them. They threw pretty well though, but they lost. So I mean, I don't know how much of that you put in there, but
Yeah,
that's a tough one too. Like they have to be able to start a lot faster than they have, and that might be tough.
I know.
With
I
the
mean, we
jet
got to
lag
start
and
getting
being
things
on the road.
clicking because it's
Mhm.
getting to that point of the season where we know that game's coming up, and everybody on the team knows that game is coming up. And first, it's this game. You can't look ahead. But like once we get next week's a bye, I think. Like you
Yeah,
already know they're really not prepared for Wisconsin, and I hate it. But I know that they're going to be looking ahead to Ohio State. Like Wisconsin's not a great team already, so I feel like and just seeing their quarterback getting hurt and everything, which makes that we've already talked about this in the first episode. That's the trap game, and it's getting to even a point where it's even like a worse trap game if we win this week, because then everybody's looking ahead to if Ohio State and us win this week, everybody's gonna be looking ahead to that game.
yep.
So
No, yeah,
and that'll be such a Franklin thing to do. I did, and I'll
yeah.
be
I
so
mean,
pissed.
we'll talk about that when we get
Yeah,
there, but that's definitely so. Here's another side of this, though, that we haven't really talked about. Nate brought this up. You want to bring up some points because he couldn't be here, but he thinks that after last week, there's a chance that USC is just in a spiral and they don't show up for this game. And I think that's possible. And a noon kick for them, they don't get good attendance the way it is now. It's 12:30
yeah.
in LA. Um, you know, I don't know.
And also loss. Like,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a chance they just don't show up either. Like, you know,
yeah,
so I
I
think
mean,
maybe the Penn State jet lag and the USC kind of downswing might nullify each other.
true. Yeah, I mean, that is a good point. I mean, honestly, like they already have like not even a great fan base, and once you start like you lost 2 games already in a terrible most mediocre fans of college football that see this would be like, all right, that's our team freaking sucks. Like our season's already
Right.
over. So I mean, yeah, I mean they already don't have too many fans anyway. So like honestly, that makes perfect sense. That's not gonna be that packed, especially it's an early game.
Yeah.
Like it's still a big game. Like it's not gonna be empty or anything, but like it's not. I don't think it's gonna be an insane atmosphere. Really, I don't think anybody's even really talked about that at all. About that it's away, like an atmosphere, like that the atmosphere is gonna be like in factor at all.
No, I mean no one's afraid of the atmosphere. It's just the distance and the travel that people are
Yeah,
more afraid of.
yeah,
I mean, I just showed you on that ESPN page, they're selling tickets for this game as low as $16. We're talking about the number 4 team in the country coming in, and you could buy a ticket for $16. I mean, that's like a beer in
that would,
Center City, Philly, dude. Like
dude.
that's
That's
actually
like
crazy.
chicken, Pete's, and Beaver.
Yeah, I know. Like it's just fun. We pay more for food in Beaver Stadium, and they're giving away tickets for that game, which is crazy. So yeah, I don't think crowd is gonna be a thing. I just don't know how much USC is gonna be into it then. So
Yeah,
that's something I'm taking into account too. So I think those two things kind of even each other out: the Penn State travel and the jet lag, and the USC willingness to show up and the crowd they have behind them. Penn State's pretty much played in all loud environments this season. Now, the second half of the West Virginia game was a joke, but
Yeah.
all the home games obviously loud. The first half at West Virginia was loudish. So, this is also kind of new for them because they haven't really played in a quiet atmosphere yet. So that's something to take into account too. So there's a lot going on here outside of the game. But for me, it's just you got to get pressure on Miller Moss and get him under distress and not let him throw to their weapons because they do have good weapons. But it's just about can their line, which is suspect, give him enough time to get to them. And Penn State's pass rush has been pretty hit or miss this season. They need to hit this week.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, Abdul and Denai have been pretty mediocre, I think, for what I expected out of them this season. So, I mean, this is a big week to show up. So we'll see. I mean, Denai says he's the best end in college football, but I need to see something out of him. I mean, this week's a big week for him to step up, so we'll see. I think we'll definitely dominate the D line. Carter will definitely get a lot of pressure. So I think I want to see some more dialed up safety corner blitzes. Put Jalen Reed. Jalen Reed is so good at blitzing. We need to just keep sending him. I love those types of plays. I always run them on Madden. It's the best. But this week's really just we need to get pressure and we can't let their playmakers get the ball. And also just open field tackling, please. Let's just not miss easy behind the line tackles where they end up getting 4 or 5 yards for no reason, making it more manageable. Like that's making me so angry. We just need to be able to open field tackle.
Yeah, that has been a problem. It was a problem kind of early on in the Illinois game where they gave up on second and longs. They gave up, 7 or 8 yards, and it was 3rd and 2, and it was just so easy to convert then. And even there were a few, when you're a heavy favorite, and I don't know if USC is going to do this because USC considers themselves, despite their record and being unranked, they consider themselves a blue blood, and they might expect to win a game like this, so they don't go all out Super Bowl style. You know what I mean? But like there have been cases where Penn State's given up a lot of yards on 3rd and longs, and then teams are going for these 4th downs. Bowling Green did it. Illinois did it. UCLA, I think, attempted a couple when the game was still in the balance. So that's another thing too, because USC has more offensive talent than those teams. So you got to keep that from happening too. You got to can't give up those extra couple yards because then teams are more tempted to go for it on a 4th down. It keeps your defense on the field, keeps your offense off the field. It's a problem. So yeah, those are definitely, it's a little thing on defense that they definitely need to tighten up this week.
Yeah, I mean, I personally have us winning this game and covering. I won't bet on us though because I can't, dude. We'll lose if I bet on us. But I have us winning by probably 10 to 14. I don't know. Like, I feel like they're going to keep it close. They're still a good team. Yeah. I'm a little nervous. I don't want to say I could see us dominating the game and honestly winning by 3 scores. But also, I'm a little nervous because Nate said they could spiral, but also it's the opposite of that, which I personally think could easily happen. You have 2 losses, but then you have this big opportunity at home with the number 4 team coming in. You win this game, you still kind of have everything in front of you. Even though they had that bad loss, I mean, who else did they lose to? They lost to
Michigan.
I mean, yeah, it was a bad way they lost, but still a good team. Not a great team or elite, but they're good. Still not a bad team. But Minnesota was a pretty bad loss. But I mean, you win this game, they still have probably pretty big games to go. I mean, Ohio State, Oregon. I don't know what their schedule is. I haven't really looked at it, to be honest with you. But they got to play at least one more big game, maybe 2, where if they win those, you're right back in the conversation for being a good team or maybe making the playoff. So, yeah, I mean, I have us winning, I think, 34-21.
I think Nate was at 27-10. I'm a little closer. I'm 28-20, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm nervous personally. I think I'm nervous for every game, but dude, I don't know. This is a big game just because we win this. I don't see there's a way we are undefeated to Ohio State, and that's really all I want. That game in Happy Valley, just both undefeated. Even though we're not going to talk about that now, but yeah.
Yeah, this is obviously the big hurdle. Wisconsin will still be a challenge, but I mean, look, there's been a lot of upsets. I mean, last week, I mean, Alabama went down to Vanderbilt, Tennessee lost to Arkansas. There's just been so many upsets this season,
Yeah.
so much chaos at the top. And obviously one of Oregon and Ohio State has to go down this week too. So it's a lot going on. And what, Texas and Georgia, they play this week?
It's Texas, Oklahoma, Texas, Georgia
Oh,
next week.
next
But
week.
also,
Okay,
we
so
haven't
yeah,
talked about this.
yeah.
People don't understand the portal's making everybody pretty even. Like
Mm-hmm.
teams that weren't recruiting as well, it really doesn't matter. You can get SEC bench players that want to transfer and get playing time. And that's what people don't understand. Like Bowling Green, it was close, but I saw multiple times they're like Texas A&M wide receiver, like former like great teams they were on that
Yeah.
just didn't work out. Like the gap has closed so much, and FCS teams have chances, and like USC USC is a good team and a good program, but like you know what I mean. Like Utah
Yeah.
State, Utah, like any of these teams can come out and beat you now. So you can't
Yeah.
really sleep on anyone. You have to be there every game or else you're going to lose. And that's what you're seeing now. There's no insanely dominant team right now, other than really, I guess, Texas because they haven't lost or Ohio State. But I mean, I think it's getting a lot more even, which is good. Personally, it's not just going to be a juggernaut, Bama or Georgia every year.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see what happens with Georgia, well, with Texas, Oregon, and Ohio State in these coming weeks. But yeah, doesn't look like a clear cut favorite, especially with how these next few weeks go. And I think with like what you said, the days of the national champion being 15-0, 16-0, whatever it has to be now, those days are probably done. I think it's very likely that you see a lot of champions that are going to have 2 losses this year, maybe this year and in the coming years. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. Recruiting is more spread out too now with NIL. A lot of teams dropping bags on guys. So, that's another thing that's kind of evened it out. Yeah, everyone has talent now. And, Penn State can't take this game lightly just because USC has 2 losses because they do have a lot of talent still. And it could show up at any time because, I mean, going on the road's not easy. I mean, Alabama went on the road in Vanderbilt and lost. And Tennessee went on the road to Arkansas and lost. Like, you go on the road, bad things happen.
But
so
there's
it's definitely
one thing that does travel, and that's running the football.
Yeah, running football and playing good defense, which Penn State has done well so far, and they need to continue to do. I think it's gonna be an interesting game. Obviously, I think it's gonna be close. It's gonna be nerve-wracking. Even in their 2 losses, USC has not been blown out. Now, I could argue that Minnesota is not very good at all, and Michigan's not close to the national champion they were last year. So obviously, it's not like they've lost to a great team, but they also haven't been blown out. And they still did beat a very talented LSU team on a neutral field. So they still have some things going for them. It's a big game for Penn State. They have to win this game. Like they really do. Because you don't want to be the team that spirals. Then you get a loss, a bye week, and then a road game. We're talking about a lot of issues with James Franklin teams. Things like that have always been a problem in the past. So you need to win this week to defeat a lot of that.
I mean, going off of that, I mean, if we lose this week, dude, I just don't know how much more I can take of Franklin, to be honest with you. Like, it's getting to the point where it's just like, you got to. This isn't even like it's a big game, but like, it's not like it's a 4 versus like a 7 or a 9.
Right.
Like you have no excuse to lose this game, and you literally, I think he can't. Like, because he's losing. If he loses this game, Ohio State's a given. Like we're losing that game. And now if he loses another one, if we go 10-2, there's a chance we don't make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
With an unranked USC loss now.
Yeah, I mean, and you still have to skate at Wisconsin, and
we still have like a little like scary-ish games. Like Purdue sucks; it's away at Purdue.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's still a scary place to play.
Yeah, I mean, Washington beat Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like it could go really bad. I don't think it is because we've been really consistent this year, honestly, other than Bowling Green, which we saw Bowling Green actually isn't a terrible team, even though they did lose to Old Dominion, but they showed up versus us and Texas A&M, and Texas A&M's showing they're pretty good now too. So, I mean, We'll see. I think it's a game you can't lose, and I hope it's a game he comes out and kind of shows himself in a statement, like just go out and dominate this game. Right when we get there, just we get on defense, 3 and out, and then go down score. Or if we get the ball, drive it down their throat, run the ball, and then when they start loading the box, play action to Warren, and just we need to score first drive. And I want to see Franklin show up for this game and dominate. But we'll see.
Yeah, let's hope.
Yeah, please.
I mean, we really got nothing else but hope at this point, because I think you and I feel this way, and a lot of people feel this way. We're at the point where we have to see it to believe it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we believed it before we saw it for many years, especially after how good 2016 ended. And I think we carried that honeymoon a little too long. And now the last couple of years, we're kind of, especially for me, after they lost to that Ohio State game last year where they only gave up 20 and they couldn't score more than freaking 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I lost it, where now I have to see it to believe it. There's no more believing before I see it.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is a game that falls in that category for me, just because it's a cross-country trip, road game, a decently good team. I got to see it. So I guess we'll see on Saturday.
We'll see. 3:30.
Yep. All right, that's going to do it for this one. Hopefully we come back next week talking about a Penn State win over USC before the bye. Talk about kind of the road ahead and what's going on with the rest of the country. So hopefully, though, we are talking about a Penn State win.